All right, guys, we've made it to Sebastian, Florida. This is technically Sebastian?
It's technically Melbourne Beach.
I was way off. So we're in Melbourne Beach, guys. I'm joined by my friend Seychelle. I'm gonna let her properly introduce herself and give us a little of your background. But first, let me pass the mic.
All right, thanks so much, Jesse. I'm really excited that you guys stopped by and to have this chat with you today. And my name is Seychelle, and I'm originally from the Florida Keys, actually, and a few hours south of here. And a little bit of my background, grew up pretty normal, I guess, life until just after high school. Rather than going to college, I decided to start traveling, first just with a backpack, and then I ended up hopping on a sailboat. Started sailing and cruising around, got my captain's license, worked on boats as a professional crew for several years, and traveled and worked on boats all over the world. And so that's kind of like my past life that most people don't know that much about. And I moved back to the Keys actually when I got a divorce, and that's when I fell in love with the sport of stand-up paddleboarding. And for the last several years, I've been pursuing a career in stand-up paddling. And I started teaching at a stand-up paddle shop. I started teaching stand-up paddle yoga. I have a background in yoga as well. This is my dog, Oscar. And I just knew that I found a sport that I was really passionate about and really meant to do, and I worked really hard at it. I soon became top 10 in the world, and then top 5 in the world, and then last year in 2019 I actually finished off as the 2019 stand-up paddle world champion. Rad. So yeah, that's
pretty rad.
It's super rad, and the most, well, one of the most interesting parts of the story, because that's a really long story that I could write a whole book about, is actually that in 2019, the year I became the world champion, I also suffered a traumatic spinal injury, which is the reason that you and I became connected, and a lot of the things that you want to talk about today. So
I want to, oh, thank you. Mic check, mic check. So I want to touch on this injury, but before we go down that road, what advice do you have for somebody that is going, I've always wanted to get into paddleboarding, it looks awesome, but I don't know, where do I start? What advice would you give?
I would say go to a local shop, find a local meetup group on Facebook. The stand-up paddle community is one of the best things about the sport. Like, people who are drawn to the water are just cool people, right? And they're welcoming people, and they have good energy, and so we love new people coming into the sport. And so just, you know, try and hook up with the community of people. Reach out to me. I love giving people advice about stand-up paddling, and yeah.
Okay, perfect. Dom, I'm gonna let you hold on. I'm just gonna talk loud. I'll let you interview me here. So before we go into your injury, in your words, how do you look at wellness? How do you define wellness? And then from there, we're gonna go into like your injury and talk about it. And maybe that gave you some perspective into how you view it.
Yeah, so I would define wellness not necessarily as just physically being healthy, but are you in balance in your physical as well as your mental, your emotional, and I would even say your spiritual body. And by that I don't mean religion, but I mean like your connection to the natural world and to other people. So I actually do one-on-one health coaching, and the 4 pillars that I work with people in my program are mindset, movement, nutrition, and self-love. So those are like my pillars of wellness.
Awesome. Do you feel like getting on the paddleboard and getting in nature gives people a little bit of that spiritual connection?
Absolutely. I think that your connection to the natural world is an integral part of health, 100%. And the ocean, the water, that's always been my element. You know, some people are mountain people or forests or whatever, you know, but there's an energy about the water, and it's definitely a deep connection.
Yeah. Have you seen a big shift or any notable shifts in people when they maybe first get into paddleboarding that are more in an office setting consistently. Have you seen that, or do you, like, what's that experience been like for people? Or the new person on the paddleboard, we'll say.
New people, you know, I mean, I think it's new and people who just love the sport or stoked on the sport. You hear a very common response, which is that, you know, when I get on the water, I just immediately feel better.
Yeah, it's relatable. So you were world champion, you're crushing it in your sport, and you have a major injury. Let's talk about it. I want to know about the injury, and I want to know the nitty-gritty of the process of navigating it.
Yeah, it's a story that I really love telling, because it's actually, at the time when I got injured, I wasn't the world champion, and the fascinating thing is the year that I got the most devastating, the most traumatic, like, career injury that could have ended my career, and you know, what most people would suffer from the rest of their life, which I know you deal with those people all day long. It was the year that transformed my career and elevated me to the place, to the athlete, to the person that I needed to be to become the world champion. So it was a deep part of my process, and I, you know, very quickly went from an attitude of, why me, why now, I'm at the peak of my career, to, I am learning so much from this. I am so grateful for this recovery, and I couldn't have accomplished what I accomplished last year without it. And so what happened, to give you the story, is that I, you know, we talked about my definition of wellness being to be in balance, and I think as a professional athlete, or, you know, no matter who you are, no matter what you do, but it can be very easy as an athlete to get out of balance, especially in that physical realm. You push yourself. I literally pushed myself to the point where I broke, right? And I was pushing myself through pain for a long time, and I'm sure that, you know, I ended up with the diagnosis was 3 pretty severely herniated cervical discs, and but I'm sure that I was all messed up, you know, ages before that. There was just a moment, actually just getting out of bed, when I was in all the pain, right? Like, you can't sit, you can't lie, you can't sleep, you can't move, you know the pain, right? And actually a lot of it wasn't in my neck or my back. After a while, it was mostly in my arm, the nerve pain and the nerve damage, and my muscles totally atrophied going down my left arm, and so I went and got an MRI finally, and I'm not a Western medicine girl. I never have been, and before I took off traveling and sailing, like, if I had gone to school, what I wanted to study was alternative medicine, and actually one thing that my recovery actually brought me back to was that part of me, and reawakened that part of me, which has just been super awesome. So I got an MRI. I had at least 5 opinions, and every single one of them said, in some way, shape, or form, you need surgery. You know, most of them said, right now, super severe surgery, that's the only way. Others said, it's not if, but when, you know, you can push through, but eventually, right? And I had a breakdown, right? I thought, yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's not an uncommon and a completely warranted reaction, you know?
Yeah, so what I did is I reached out to my online community. I have a really strong following on social media, and I said, hey, this is what's happening. This is what I'm going through. I need some advice. I need some help. And the response was just beautiful and overwhelming, and I would say it's amazing, because, you know, all the doctors say surgery, 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 and all of the people say, you know, they came back with their stories telling me, you don't need surgery, you can heal from this. This is what I did, this is what I did, this is what I did, right? And there's no like exact do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that. You have to figure out what works for you because you have to figure out what you were doing to cause it, especially an injury like that, which was totally self-inflicted. Like I overtrained, I forced things that I shouldn't have been forcing in my physical body, and I wasn't using my body the way that it was meant to be used. And what brought me to foundation training was that so many of those people who reached out in response when I asked for advice responded foundation training. And you know, the first person told me, I was like, okay, yeah, sure, whatever. And somebody else told me, I was like, all right, like what is this? And then another, and I was like, okay, like I get it. Like I got the message, right? And so I signed up for the membership. I didn't even do the free videos, just like I'm doing this, right? Because I'm kind of like an all-in person. And you know what? It was one of the most integral parts of my recovery process, learning how to use my body properly, you know, first to get out of pain and to help with so much with my breathing, how I was breathing. You know, I was way out of balance and I didn't even realize it because I had pushed past pain for so long. And so I still love foundation training. I still do it every day in some way, shape, or form. And it's still a part of my recovery process on a day-to-day basis. And so that, yeah, did I answer the question?
I think you did. No, I mean, it's how you found foundation training, and you know, what I look to do with this, Seychelle, is you've got a story, and it's important for a lot of people out there that are going through it, because we do get a lot of stuff with the neck, and you know, you see it more and more, and just how you said it wasn't like you got hit by a car or you were, you know, ripping through some moment on some extreme sport. You were getting out of bed. You know, I mean, it was like that moment that pushes us over. So I imagine this is very relatable for a lot of people, and to know that, you know, you found a way like that, it just says a lot for them, you know. So what is there any one exercise that you've really stuck to, or any specific ones that you find resonate a lot with you?
Of the foundation training movements?
Sorry, I'd love to know other modalities that you're using as well for people, and in your coaching, what tools do you like to bring in?
So yes, for the foundation training, I really love, I mean, I love all of it. I'm just, what I've been doing more recently, I'm trying to remember what I did in the ones that felt the best to me when I was actually recovering. It seems like a lifetime ago. I mean, I guess it was a year and a half ago. The ones that are really helpful for me now as a paddler are any of the rotational stuff, especially like the windmills, because your thoracic mobility is really important as a paddler, and most paddlers have really tight, restricted, and most people are really restricted in their thoracic spine. So as a paddler, that's really important. And so I love doing windmills, and I mean, I do a founder every single morning at sunrise. That's like part of my morning sunrise routine. Yeah. And I love the things that foundation training has taught me as a coach, or I mean, as a paddler, but also as a stand-up paddle coach. And you know, what I teach people in technique-wise is what I feel in my own body, and it's really taught me ways that, you know, as a paddler, I'm gonna stand up and demo.
Please do it.
So, am I still in the frame? Yeah. So as a paddler, we bend over a lot, and so then your neck goes into extension, and this was part of the issue. Another part of it was what's going on here, right? But so it's really reminded me, you know, of this back of the neck long, which then forces you to get your chest up, which then keeps your spine more neutral, and like all the things fall into place. Like whether you're going from bottom to top or top to bottom, like I just, you know, I was like this all day, every day, and now I'm, you know, I'm more up here, right? So it's just like a little shift that I think about constantly when I'm paddling, you know, keep your back of the neck long, keep your chest up, and those are cues that I give people all the time when I see them paddling is chest up, right? Because it automatically like pulls your shoulders back, and we see paddlers and they're always like this, and So some of the other ones that are interesting, like, is like this hip hinge, right? So this is a great position, obviously, if you know foundation training for your back, for your body, right? But when we're paddling, we actually want our weight not back in our heels. We actually want our weight not necessarily in our toes, but actually going forward onto our paddle. So what I think about is being in this position, and then I flex my ankles. And so nothing actually changes in my body except for this ankle flexion, and that I find to be just like a perfect way to set yourself up for your paddle stroke. So I just love taking things that I've learned from foundation training, other modalities. I've learned a lot from you guys about kettlebell work and other stuff like that, and it applies so well to any full body movement, and paddling is absolutely a full body, hip driven movement. And so many people think of paddling, and part of my problem was I was paddling too much in my upper body, right? And now I've learned so much more how to use my lower body. I had to relearn how to do everything.
Yeah.
You're at the peak of your career, you think you're like one of the fastest in the world, and yet your body's on the brink of a breakdown because you're not using it correctly.
Right.
And then when I learned to use it correctly, I mean, things just felt so much easier.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, I love that you're hitting on for you, it brought this awareness of the poor patterns, and you're able to share that awareness with others. And when I talk about, especially for athletes, there's so much of that, as you do the work over and over, it is this neuromuscular reprogram that it becomes a part of you. You don't have to think about it. It just seems to come out in everything you do. And I would say you're on that path where you have gotten it so well and so dialed in that you're able to communicate it to the people you're working with. And that just, to me, that is always the goal, that we can let it carry over in the, as one of our pillars of integration, integrating into your day-to-day life, integrating into your body to connect all the dots. And when I hear all those other things, I'm going, that's it. Like, she's got what so many people we try to get the point across to. And generally the athletes that are very in tune and like you, that have great body awareness, kinesthetic awareness, can communicate that. And that's where, you as a coach, I always say, is so valuable, because you're able to communicate, feel. And a lot of what we try to make people understand is to feel what we're explaining, try to feel these muscles connect, feel the engagement, feel the activation, and it's valuable to have someone that can communicate that for them. So very awesome.
Yeah.
Now, last question I want to ask you. What advice do you want to give any individuals out there that are listening to this before we go into where they find you and info?
I just remembered that I didn't fully answer your question, the last question. So I'm going to finish that answer, which was, what other modalities did I find that were really helpful? And so I found NKT, Neurokinetic Therapy, which is something that most people haven't heard of, and it's a form of kinesiology, muscle testing, working with your nervous system, figuring out what's firing and what's not firing, which really helps you identify imbalances in your body. And when certain muscles like the glutes or the lats get shut off, and those are such integral parts of the way that we function, yet they are ones that very often do get shut off, right? It's very hard to identify that on your own, and so even though I haven't been in pain since, it's been well over a year.
Awesome.
Yeah, I still go and see my neurokinetic therapist every 2 to 3 weeks, because I'm like, well, I'm gonna keep coming to you until. Because I literally haven't been in pain since. And so you have to find what works for you. There's so many things. There's chiropractor, there's acupuncture, there's massage, and there's, energy healing. And then, a huge part of it is your diet and your nutrition, and that kind of goes into your next question. But it was a whole puzzle of physical and metaphysical changes, corrections, rebalancing, reprogramming that I had to do in my body, So relearning how to breathe was a huge one.
Yeah.
And Yeah.
How could you real quick, like when you say relearning how to breathe, could you touch on that a little bit? Like what would you say you re-educated, if you will?
So I had a rib injury a long time ago, and I had, through my recovery from that, which was a totally which was not the same type of recovery as I did from my neck injury, because it wasn't a full stop, right? The neck was a full stop. Like, you have to deal with this or you're never getting out of bed again. You know, like, but the rib thing wasn't a full stop. It was just like, it hurts, but you keep going when it hurts when you're an athlete has big dreams, you know? So you don't heal the same way when you don't stop and rest. And so I dealt with that for a long time. And anyways, what I was trying to say was that I didn't even realize it, but I had totally restricted my rib cage movement, because for a long time it hurt to move my ribs, right? So I was only breathing here. And that wasn't healthy, right? Like, my rib cage wasn't moving. So I had to relearn how to get my ribs to move, which was really like a fun process, because I love the body. Yeah. But
I love that.
Yeah, you know, like, I had no idea that I was like, I'm a yogi. I know how to breathe, but I had, you know, like, you don't know until you know, I guess, right?
Yeah. Do you feel like decompression breathing was it, or did you have other tools you used?
The decompression breathing has helped a lot. I'm still, the breathing, I think that there's different types of breathing for different situations, right? And so when I'm paddling now, I'm breathing pretty heavy, because it's a hard, fast, like, you're working, it's a cardio, and I'm normally going as hard as I can if I'm racing, and not necessarily if I'm training, but so I just rather than focusing on, like, can I get everything to expand, I'm just making sure that my diaphragm is doing what it's supposed to be doing, you know? So I just, but I do a lot of quiet breathing, which is like when you're trying to make your exhale as long and slow as possible. I call it quiet breathing. I don't know if that's what you call it.
I don't really have a name for it.
Yeah, but you know the one.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. See if you can exhale for a full minute.
It's challenging. Yeah. It's amazing how hard focused breath. There's one I've been playing with where you push all of your air, like every ounce of your air out over a span of time, and just hold on that for actually, I believe it's for toning the diaphragm, and it is so challenging. It's amazing how breath work can push you, and it's like all you're doing is breathing, you know?
Yeah. So you...
Last one was advice.
Yeah.
Advice for individuals out there.
Well, to keep it super simple, the best advice for wellness, right? That was what you asked?
Yeah, or life in general.
Yeah, well, life in general, I would say it would be the same answer, is take time to take care of yourself. Whether it's just, even if it's just like 10 minutes, you know, because if you're not taking time to take care of yourself, it's like the saying, put on your own mask before helping others. It's like a metaphor for life, and so many people don't take care of themselves. And if you're not even willing to take 10 minutes for self-care, like, you're also probably not willing to eat whole, nourishing foods for your body. You're probably not, getting enough sleep. You're probably not, exercising regularly or de-stressing, right? Like, so just having the mindset of, like, I am going to take 10 minutes for myself is the starting point for a whole mindset shift to, like, I'm going to take care of myself, right?
Yeah.
So 10 minutes of self-care, and that could look different from other people. Yes, it could be your meditation or your journaling practice. It could be going for a walk outside, or it could be like just committing to, like, actually sitting down for a meal that you cooked or something, or maybe you didn't even cook it because that would be longer than 10 minutes, but maybe not actually, because there's meals that are really nourishing that take 10 minutes to cook. So self-care is just taking time for yourself, because that, when you feel worthy to take care of yourself, when that's your building block of your self-worth. And your self-worth is your building block of believing in yourself and doing things and you know, basically the first step to success, right? So that's a big one. And then another one is part of that, which I kind of mentioned, which is like sleep. Which is if you're not getting sleep, like that's domino number one, right? That's gonna knock down all the other dominoes. And so get sleep. And if you're somebody who is, you know, not able to fall asleep, or you wake up in the middle of the night and you can't go back to sleep, like there are so many, you know, natural remedies, techniques, therapy. There's different things. Like there's, you know, you don't have to just lie there with the mind spinning in circles. Like there are things to try, and if you don't know what some of those things are, reach out to me, or, you know, to somebody who you can talk to about some of those different techniques, because they're really simple, and I'm somebody who uses a lot of them.
Yeah.
You know, like people think, oh, well, you got everything figured out, and it's like, but I still use like my binaural beats and my CBD and like all the things to sleep when I need them, right? I try to sleep without them, but like,
yeah,
you know,
no,
so
they're great tools at the right times, right?
Yeah.
And I was gonna say, finding people that have been there, have done it, do the work, consistently do the work. You know, it's seeking out the right people. We all need mentors. We all need guides. Every great coach has a coach. So
totally
love it. Well, what's the best ways for people to track you down if they want some coaching, if they want to learn from you, come to a camp eventually?
Yeah. So I'm Seychelle Sup on Instagram and Facebook, Seychelle SUP, and it's also SeychelleSup.com, and those are the best ways to reach me. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we got it in. We're gonna go do a little playtime and then back on the road.
Thanks so much.
Yoo-hoo!